People think land gets stolen in the dark, but mine disappeared in broad daylight, while I was busy living a life that never asked my permission to fall apart. My name is Logan Hale, 52, structural engineer, introvert by nature, stubborn by inheritance. And today, I'm walking into the Boulder County Courthouse with the one thing the HOA never expected: a deed older than their entire community. The February wind cut through my suit like a blade, same suit I wore when my daughter graduated 7 years ago. Back then it fit. Now it fought against the weight age and trouble had laid across my shoulders. Reporters clustered on the courthouse steps, smell of cold metal and hot microphones in the air. "Mr. Hale, are you really about to evict 500 families?" someone shouted. I didn't look at them. Opinions are free. Land isn't. Inside my briefcase was the reason I was here: my grandfather's 1974 deed, yellowed, tobacco-scented, and stubborn enough to outlive every lie told about my property. Granddad, Walter Hale, had worked half his life in mills and garages, saving cash in a canvas sack until he could buy 320 acres of untouched mountain ridge, a place silent enough to quiet the ghosts he carried home from Vietnam. Every summer we'd stay in a dented airstream under the pines. Coffee on a campfire, tools sharpened on river stones, and his voice: "Trees don't lie, Logan. Men do. Remember the difference." When he died, he left the land to me, and a note: "Don't let the bastards take what's yours." For years, life pulled me away. Divorce, kids, long shifts, bills, but the taxes, I paid them every April, always, until last August, when my daughter asked me where we'd scatter his ashes. Shame hit me like a hammer. I realized how long it had been since I set foot on our ridge, so I drove up the mountain road with his ashes in the passenger seat, and the first punch hit immediately. Fresh pavement, widened turns, infrastructure no county budget could explain. Then I saw it, a polished stone monument taller than me. My stomach dropped. My land didn't have a name. It had history. I drove past the sign, past the manicured sales center, past smiling couples admiring model homes. Homes built on soil my grandfather once bled on while splitting firewood. Then came the gate. Iron arch, keypads, cameras, an entire private empire erected on my ridge. A security guard stepped out. "Sir, residents only." Before I could speak, I saw her. The HOA president. Designer heels, perfect hair, eyes like polished ice. She examined me like she was deciding where to file me. "Do you have an address here?" she asked. I pointed at the entire community behind her. "Yeah," I said quietly, "all of them." Her smile cracked. Just a little. She tried to talk circles around me, tried to explain the land had been annexed, tried to tell me my deed was outdated, tried to offer me relocation money, as if my grandfather's ridge was a parking ticket. Then the guard pulled up the county parcel map, and the whole world shifted. "Ma'am," he whispered, "this building, this office, the parcel doesn't exist. There's no permit, no zoning, no lot number. It's not legally here." Her face went gray. I closed my folder, tipped my hat, walked out of the office she didn't own, on land she never purchased. And she knew, right then, that the truth was already coming for her. I didn't go home that night, didn't feel safe doing anything predictable. Instead, I checked into a roadside motel off Highway 36. Room 12, cigarette-stained walls, a TV older than some of the houses on my ridge. Around 8:30 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Mr. Hale, Deputy Rollins here from the sheriff's office." The HOA had filed a complaint. Trespassing, disturbing residents, causing tension. Typical stunt. "This is civil," he said. "You need a lawyer who knows land use law. Someone mean. Someone sharp." He gave me a name, Amelia Rhodes, and I wrote it on a motel napkin. By midnight, I thought the worst was over. Then came the knock. Not soft, not polite, a warning wrapped in knuckles. I checked the peephole. A man stood there, plain clothes, crisp boots, eyes too calm to be honest. I opened the door 2 inches, with the chain still on. "Evening, Mr. Hale," he said. "My employer wants this handled quietly." "Your employer?" "Whitmore Development." He held out a clipboard with a no trespass order. His voice was polite. His presence was not. "Mr. Whitmore prefers problems to disappear," he murmured. Behind him, a black SUV idled in the dark. No headlights. Another silhouette inside, watching. These weren't HOA volunteers. These were professionals. The kind hired when money turns into desperation. When he left, I locked every latch on that door, turned out the lights, sat in the dark. For the first time since stepping on my land, fear crawled up my spine. Not the kind that sends a man running, the kind that tells him he's standing in the blast radius of something much bigger. At 12:17 a.m., I dialed the number on the napkin. It rang once. "This is Rhodes." I told her everything. The gatehouse, the deed the HOA president, the threats the fixer at my door. She didn't interrupt, didn't gasp, didn't act surprised. When I finished, she flicked a lighter, breathed out smoke, and said, "Mr. Hale, this isn't an HOA problem." Her voice sharpened. "This is organized fraud, large scale, possibly criminal." "What do I do tonight?" I asked. "Keep the door locked, keep your phone charged, and sleep if you can." "Why?" "Because tomorrow," she said, "we stop reacting and start hunting." I looked at the deed on the bedside table. 49 years old, stubborn as the hands that signed it. "Bring it in the morning," she added. "You're going to need it." And that's how a quiet, middle-aged engineer found himself in the biggest land scandal the state had ever seen. Not because he wanted a fight, but because someone decided the truth didn't matter, until it did. Morning came like a slap, bright, cold, unforgiving. I left the motel before 7:30 a.m., deed tucked inside my leather folder like a heartbeat I could feel through the cover. Amelia Rhodes's office sat on the 10th floor of a downtown building made of old brick and bad memories. Inside, the place smelled like coffee, paper, and stress, the natural habitat of a real attorney. She didn't shake my hand, didn't waste a second. "Sit," she said. And I did. She already had 3 monitors lit up, county records pulled, maps displayed, zoning codes highlighted, and a stack of printed documents thicker than a Bible. "Mr. Hale," she said without looking at me, "I stayed up half the night checking the parcel history." "And?" She turned one monitor toward me. "Your land," she said, tapping the screen, "has never been transferred. Not once. No sale, no annexation, no consolidation, nothing." I blinked. "So what did they build on?" She smiled, a sharp, almost predatory smile. "Fantasy. Paperwork forged so sloppily it insults my intelligence." Then she tossed a printed stack in front of me. "Look here. They used a fake notary, fake signatures, wrong ink codes. They even referenced a zoning ordinance that didn't exist until 2023. But the community was built in 2021, I said. Exactly. I swallowed. So, what does that mean legally? She leaned back, crossed her legs, and delivered the sentence like a judge passing verdict. It means every structure on that land is trespassing. She paused. And whoever approved the development committed fraud, state and federal. I felt the room tilt for a second. She stood, grabbed her coat, and said, "We're going to court. Today." By the time we entered courtroom 4C, the gallery was packed. Developers in suits, HOA board members sweating through dry clean-only shirts, residents whispering fear into each other's hands, and right in the front row, Karen Whitmore, the HOA queen. Designer heels, flawless hair, and a face pale enough to match the paperwork she'd pretended was real. She didn't look at me, she looked through me, like a gambler realizing the deck wasn't stacked in her favor after all. The judge took the bench. A gavel cracked. Case number 24, LC1172, Hale versus Whitmore Development. Rhodes stepped forward. "Your Honor," she said calmly, "before we proceed, I would like to submit Exhibit A." She held up my deed. The original unbroken chain of ownership dating back nearly 50 years. Gasps rustled through the courtroom like dry leaves. Karen stood abruptly. "Your Honor, that document is irrelevant. Our development legally annexed." The judge raised a hand so sharply she froze mid-sentence. "Ms. Whitmore, your annexation filings are not in the county record. Your HOA offices aren't recognized in the zoning system. Your permits don't exist." His voice darkened. "In fact, nothing about your development exists, legally." Karen's mouth trembled. I was told everything was cleared." "By whom?" the judge asked. Her eyes darted to the back of the courtroom, at a man in a navy suit with a shaved head. The fixer from the motel, leaning against the wall like a shadow with a pulse. The judge continued, "Based on the evidence presented," he lifted my deed, "this land belongs solely and unquestionably to Mr. Logan Hale." The courtroom erupted, residents crying, developers shouting, Karen sinking into her seat like a building losing its foundation. The judge slammed the gavel. "Order, order," he turned toward me. "Mr. Hale, what do you request?" Everyone held their breath. Evict 512 families, destroy an entire community, level a billion-dollar development. I felt my grandfather's voice in my chest, steady and firm. "Trees don't lie, Logan. Men do." I took a slow breath. "Your Honor," I said quietly, "I didn't start this fight, but I won't punish the people who moved in without knowing the truth. I want the development frozen. No new construction, no sales, no changes. And I want the full investigation into Whitmore Development." "And the land itself?" the judge asked. A long moment, then, "It stays mine," I said. "Every inch. But I'll work with the families legally, fairly, just not with thieves." Karen's sob broke the silence. The fixer slipped out the back door before deputies could reach him. The judge nodded. "Motion granted. Investigation ordered. Development frozen. Ownership confirmed." The gavel fell like a final heartbeat. Case closed. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Residents approached me carefully, hope, fear, guilt in their eyes. One woman said, "You saved us." I shook my head. "No, I'm just taking back what was already mine." Across the plaza, Karen was being escorted by deputies, designer heels clicking like defeated punctuation marks. I looked up at the mountains, at the ridge where I once ran barefoot through pines, where my grandfather sharpened tools, where quiet used to live. The land was still mine, always had been, always would be, and for the first time in years, I felt something settle inside me. A promise kept, a fight ended, a grandfather's voice finally at peace. I whispered into the wind, "They didn't take it, Granddad, not while I was still standing." The courtroom was silent, the kind of silence that feels heavy, like everyone is holding the same breath. The HOA president sat across the aisle, arms crossed, confident, too confident. She still thought the land was theirs, The judge adjusted his glasses. "Mr. Carter," he said, "please approach." I stepped forward and placed the old leather folder on the bench. The deed. The original deed. The one her board claimed didn't exist. The judge flipped the pages, slow, deliberate, and then looked up at the HOA president. "This land," he said, tapping the paper, "never belonged to your association. Not 1 inch of it." A ripple swept through the room. Gasps. Chairs shifting. Someone cursed under their breath. The HOA president went pale. The judge continued, "Your board knowingly built 512 homes on private property without permission. Every permit, every construction order, void." She tried to speak, but her voice cracked. The judge raised his hand. "Effective immediately, the HOA is fined. All claims against Mr. Carter are dismissed. And this entire development," he paused, "belongs to him." It felt unreal. 512 homes, all of them now legally mine. The HOA president buried her face in her hands. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just picked up the deed, nodded to the judge, and walked out. Outside, the wind hit my face. Clean, sharp, real. The same wind that used to blow across empty land before they tried to steal it. Tom met me on the steps. "Well?" he asked. I held up the deed. "It's over." He laughed. "What are you going to do with 500 houses?" I looked at the endless rows of roofs stretching toward the horizon. "Whatever I want," I said. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I felt the land was mine again. The HOA took everything. Today, I took it back.